Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, December 7th, as we are celebrating day 2 of CS Ed Week. This is the secondary stream for our secondary students, middle and high school. My name is John Shoemaker from the Department of Educational Technology, part of the School District of Palm Beach County. And we have got an amazing treat for everyone today. We have got some coders from all over the world, people who are involved in the computer science world, to answer some questions that are actually part of our questions from our students from around the district. So we're actually going to have students asking the questions today and guiding the conversation as we chat with some coders from many different industries. So before we get started, for those of you who have never joined us before, just a little bit of housekeeping, but over there on the right-hand side is the chat box if you're joining us on a PC or a Mac. That's where you can use to have conversation with us. So if you guys have questions, please feel free to use the chat box and ask any questions you want, and we will try to also include questions from that chat box to ask our coding panel as well. We know that not all the schools could get into our back room because it's full, so we're going to be able to use the chat over there as well to pull some questions. If you're also new here, please feel free to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Again, we hit 5,000 subscribers a few weeks ago, which is totally awesome. And we do have one of our moderators in the chat over there. Tasha she's got a wrench next to her name, but anyone that has a wrench next to their name is a moderator, just kind of helping answer questions and help out in the chat box. And finally, most importantly, over in that top right corner of this slide, we would love to see what you're doing this week and all the time with technology integration. So don't forget to tag us on social media. On Twitter, it's at EdTechPBC. And this week specifically, we're following the world with the hashtag CSEverywhere. So please feel free to use that hashtag and tag us in what you're doing with the classes. We had an elementary stream yesterday where we talked about how to create a rock band with our smart monsters for elementary, and saw some awesome streams and awesome pictures from all those students yesterday. So we'd love to see your kids joining us today, asking questions, and just more importantly, what they're doing with coding. And so with that, I'm going to introduce all of our different people that are going to be on the panel. What we're going to do is one at a time to start off with, and then we'll get into the questions, okay? So our first person is going to be Mihai. Mihai, if you want to introduce yourself, tell us where you're from and what you do.
Absolutely. Good morning, everyone. Glad to be here. I am the Vice President of Engineering at Modernizing Medicine. We're a healthcare IT company that has developed an ecosystem of applications, if you will, for doctors and their patients to really save them time. I'm also very involved with the Software.Tech Hub, trying to really focus on education and talent and really bringing awareness of STEAM to the K-12 and higher ed realms, and working closely with those K-12s and higher eds and the boot camps in it. So glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. And next up, we have Alex. Alex is joining us next. Go ahead, Alex.
Hey, everyone. Good morning. I'm Alex Parsons. I'm Director of Product Management at HopSkipDrive. We're a LA-based startup, which is a ride share for youth, for kids, basically. So we have a network of care drivers, we call them, using an app, much like Uber or Lyft. But the people organizing the rides are typically schools and school districts, as well as parents. And yeah, I'm happy to speak to you all and help you understand all the kinds of things you can do with coding and software.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Kind of cool to think ride sharing for students and for youth. Great idea. Next up, we're going to have Min from Smart.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Min. I am a software product manager from Smart Technology. So we make the smart boards, obviously, and then also software like Lumio. So my job is to work with our talented developers and user experience designers, building the products that we have, but also talking to our customers like yourselves and teachers, what they want in their products and making that product better. So thanks for having me.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Min. Next, we have Guillermo, also from Smart. Go ahead, Guillermo.
Hello, everyone. I'm so glad to be here. Thank you very much. My name is Guillermo. I work for Smart as a front-end developer, and I work from Spain.
Awesome. Thanks so much. So you're going to see we have people from all over the world here joining us. And so next up, we also have one more person from Smart. We have Kelsey from Smart. So go ahead, Kelsey.
Hi, everyone. Really excited to be here this morning. My name is Kelsey Hansen, and I also work for Smart, but I'm located here in Canada. I work on our front-end Lumio product. I actually got started as an educator, and I'm now working as a web developer.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Kelsey. And next up, we have Dr. DP. Go ahead, Doctor.
Good morning. I'm so happy to be here to see the future leaders of the world and answer a few questions. I'm DP Prakash, co-CEO of YOUTOPIAN. We are an AI XR innovations company. By XR, I mean AR and VR. When artificial intelligence and AR and VR meet, then the next big thing called the metaverse is born. So my focus is with my team at YOUTOPIAN, the digital transformation of enterprises as a whole and improving education as a whole. The idea is that we now have the most creative period upon us, and all of us have a chance to shape it using the latest and greatest technologies. And we'll talk a little bit about that in the chat today. I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And last but not least, we have Pranavi from Quizlet. Go ahead.
Hi, everyone. I'm Pranavi. I am a user experience designer at Quizlet, which I'm sure a few of you are familiar with. Quizlet is a learning platform that's aimed at helping students practice and master whatever they're learning. And I'm calling from San Jose, California.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us nice and early over there in California.
Yes.
So we do appreciate that as well. So with that, we're going to have our first question. Our first question is going to be coming from Christa McAuliffe Middle School. So I'm going to add them up here. So nice and loud. You guys are muted, so unmute yourselves and nice and loud. Thanks for waving. Good to see you. So if you guys will unmute and ask your question.
Oh, okay. Hi, good morning. My name is Brian Jones. I go to Christa McAuliffe Middle School. My question is, were there computer science classes in your middle school? If not, what classes led to your career in CS?
All right, so what classes led to your career? Were there classes in middle school for computer science? Anyone want to take that one quickly? Anyone on the team? Go ahead, raise your hand. Go ahead, Kelsey. We'll start with Kelsey, and then we'll go to Mihai.
So I actually got started in computing science really quite a bit later than a lot of my colleagues. So we did not have any computing science in my middle school or my high school. I did not write my first program until I was, I think, 22. And I just fell in love. So what led me in that direction? I was always really passionate about mathematics. That was always my favorite subject in school. And yeah, I think that just kind of went seamlessly into computing science.
Awesome. And was it Mihai, or were you next?
Yeah, it's so interesting because actually my answer is very, very similar to the one that was just mentioned. We didn't do CS in middle school or in high school. My high school was a math and physics, and I was really bad at physics, but I was pretty decent at math. So when it was time to kind of go into college, I was trying to kind of figure out what do I want to do. So I tried finance, I tried, architecture, I tried kind of being a lawyer and learning about it, and just it didn't kind of sit right. And then I kind of took a step back saying, okay, what do I really enjoy doing in high school? And the answer was math. So then I looked into computer science because it's really a branch of discrete mathematics. So I went into that. The first year was completely horrible. I almost failed my programming class because I just didn't have any background. But then it got easier and easier until one day I kind of got an email from this software company that was talking about, hey, there's these mobile apps, and I didn't even own a phone back then. So I downloaded the code, opened it up on my laptop, and just something magical happened, right? I saw on my screen a phone simulator with like a hello world, and I just stared at it for like 5 minutes, and I knew just right then and there that this is what I want to do for the rest of my life, is write apps for phones.
Awesome. Yeah. Kind of crazy to think, today's kids, they get the computer science. Even I'm a younger guy too, but I don't know. Did any of you guys have it in middle school? Raise your hand if you had computer coding in middle school. No? How about high school? Any of you guys in the panel have? Oh, okay. One, two in high school. Okay. So, but as the world is changing and the importance of being placed on computer science, I think we're seeing why it's being placed in lower and lower grades. Plus, it's probably easier to learn. Research shows it's easier to learn languages easier in elementary school than it is as an adult. So starting as young as you can. Awesome. All right. Thank you for that. So we're going to hop over to Emerald Cove now. Emerald Cove is another one of our middle schools. And do we have our person ready for our question at Emerald Cove? Anyone?
Yes, he's coming.
Okay. Come on up.
Come on up.
Nice and loud, close to the camera so we can hear you.
Hi, I'm Jacqueline Berger and I'm from Emerald Cove Middle School. What are some of the different roles when creating a website with your team?
Okay, different roles, right? Is that what you said? Different roles in creating a website with your team? Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. Anyone want to take that on our panel here? Website design. Alex, we will start with you. Go ahead.
Happy to answer because my role is product management. We're typically described as being like the bridge between all the different roles on the team. So I'm typically working with the business, so the executive team or the CEO. Often there's somebody's asked for you to build something or change something on the site. So we'll start with what we want to do and what are the goals of the project and kind of identify what those goals are. And then I'm working with designers. So that could be UX designers like Pranavi, visual designers or graphic designers, depending on the case. And that's typically where we will design what we want the thing to look like. At the same time, we'll be speaking to the tech team or engineers. We have front-end developers, back-end developers, QA engineers. So these are people who do quality assurance and test the product. And then also, this just keeps going on and on. You'll see it's a very cross-functional and collaborative process. I have to work with the marketing team to think about what it should say, copywriters, more precisely what to say, and then our customer support team and operations teams when we think about launching something. We're communicating about it and then understanding how we can explain it to customers if they do have any support questions. Probably forgetting many other people involved, but yes, very, very collaborative and cross-functional. And that's what makes it fun and challenging too.
Awesome. All right. Thanks. And go ahead, Pranavi.
Yeah. As Alex mentioned, I am a UX designer, and so which stands for user experience. And one of the roles that user experience designers play is designing and figuring out the overall experience of interacting with a website or service. And so, when you log on to Google Classroom and you start clicking on your class folder and then you go inside your classes and you click on your assignments, somebody has to sort of figure out what that experience looks and feels like. And that typically is a major responsibility of user experience designers. In addition to what is the visual layout, what are the colors, the typography. So a huge role of being a product designer or UX designer for technology services is figuring out both how something functions and how you interact with it, and also how it actually looks.
Yeah, so I think it's interesting that there are many, many, many people involved in building a website. Oftentimes you don't think about it. Students often start with themselves building a website and think, I've built the website. But once you get into these larger companies and corporations, there's a lot of people just to change a few words on a website or a few graphics, teams of people. So awesome. Thank you so much. All right. So we're going to hop over to Suncoast next. Suncoast is one of our high schools. So we have a question ready from Suncoast. Anyone? And if you can make sure you unmute yourself, nice and loud, who you are and what's your question. Well, you guys are still muted there, so make sure there you go.
Hello, I'm Edwin Moore, and I'm in ninth grade, and I wanted to ask, what are some of the challenges that you encounter with your job?
Okay, so challenges, always something fun in our job. So who wants to take that one? Someone who hasn't chatted yet. What are some challenges you've dealt with? Go ahead, Guillermo.
Well, for me, some of the challenge when working or developing web applications is not only get to the point where you know how you are going to do it, but also trying to do it the best way possible. Because when coding an application, you can make things work in many different ways. You can make it better or make it worse. But for me, part of the challenge is making it in the best way possible, so the user has the best possible outcome, like the page loads faster, or the code doesn't have any bugs, which always can happen. But yeah, for me, some of the challenge is always trying to optimize the application to the most.
Awesome. Just like a website, an application is so involved with so many people that one change can affect a whole team of people. So it's important to keep that in mind. Awesome. Anyone else? What are some challenges in your role that you face? Anyone else want to share with us challenges? Go ahead, Dr. DP.
All right. So my challenge was change. If you look at all around you, change is everywhere. If you look at the type of technologies that you face when you step out, things like artificial intelligence, machine learning, augmented reality, virtual reality, 5G, robotic process automation, cybersecurity, cloud, edge, it's all around. So we are living in a time of exponential change like never before. It brings with it challenges as well as opportunities. So challenge is like, how do you deal with change of that magnitude? If you focus on one thing, we just talked about the web. The whole change in computing is happening where the 2D internet is actually moving, and it's now becoming the 3D web. The rise of the 3D web is here. Metaverse is just born. And the entire world is going to have a digital twin. Think about that. Think about ability to move. Like most of you students would have seen the Ready Player One. If you have not seen it, go and take a look at it. It's good. It gives you a pretty good view of what is coming. So in an environment where the computing platform itself is changing, right? How do you actually adapt? That is the biggest challenge. But there are ways to actually turn the challenge into a massive opportunity. All of you are going to do really, really well, in my opinion. So that's it. The biggest challenge is change, dealing with it, and getting ready to adapt to change.
I saw a lot of heads nodding in the background here when he said adapting to change. And I think a lot of us kind of got shaken into a new reality a little over a year ago with the pandemic, and just keeping our eye on change, because a lot of times if a business remains stagnant and they don't change or adapt, they're going to go by the wayside eventually. So yeah, great comment there. So with that, I'm going to bring in Glade Central. So Glade Central, do you have your first student? Want to bring them up? Glade Central High School out in the Glades area. So go ahead, nice and loud. What's your question?
I'm Johan, and I'm at Glade Central, and I want to know, where do you work, like remotely or on-site?
Okay, perfect. So do you work remotely or do we work on-site? Who wants to share first? Go ahead, Min.
So I actually do a little bit of both. Well, obviously with the pandemic, right now I'm working remotely from my home. But I'm lucky enough to be based in Canada, in Calgary, which is the headquarters for Smart. So I do go into the office prior to the pandemic. But our team is very remote. Like we have offices like in Spain, you heard Guillermo, but also in Seattle and all across the US and North America. So it's actually very normal for us to work remotely. Even if I'm in the office, I'm often in meetings talking to people in different time zones. So it's a very normal thing. I think because of that, we kind of adjusted nicely to the pandemic in the sense that our working style hasn't really changed that much. Although having that in-person meeting is still nice to do. But working remotely is kind of the norm at Smart.
Awesome. And I guess let's do that. So let's show of hands if you're working remotely. Okay. And how many go into the office? Okay, so kind of a little bit of a hybrid approach as well. And thumbs up, do you like working remotely or do you not like working remotely? Or maybe okay. No, okay. And I think that's what's interesting about people is we're all different, right? So, you know, someone like me, I love working from home and having that liberty, but others like that personal interaction, right? So I think you have to figure out yourself what you enjoy. Now, obviously, we're in different circumstances, but you kind of can pick based on the company if you want to work remotely or not, right? Most of the time in this industry. Go ahead, Alex.
Yeah, I wanted to add, you know, my company, we're an LA-based startup. I forgot to mention in the intros that I actually live in West Palm Beach now. I moved during COVID. Our team was entirely working out of the office up until COVID, but then COVID really changed things, and I was one of the first kind of senior people of the company to leave, you know, for personal reasons to be closer to family. But I want to say it's a huge opportunity right now because I think every company in technology has changed their hiring policy. So our team has doubled in size over the last year. And now a lot of the engineers that we were hiring, we're looking across the entire country and internationally. So just because you're in West Palm Beach doesn't mean you need to be looking for jobs here in West Palm. I have friends in Silicon Valley and LA, and all of those companies I know are hiring across the entire country. And it's truly becoming a global market where I think your skills are highly in demand, and it doesn't necessarily matter where you're based or even necessarily where you went to school. So it's becoming very, very democratic. And I think it's an amazing opportunity for your generation.
Yeah, 100%. But I also think people need to remember you have to look internally, like I was saying before, because you have to be very self-motivated to work from home because it's so easy to be distracted, right? When you're in your own house and there's other things like, well, maybe I'll just go play some video games for a little bit, right? And then it's like, oh, crap, I missed meetings or whatever. So there are some advantages to being in an office, but if you're self-motivated, for sure. Mihai, did you want to also add something about that?
Yeah, it's just, you know, it's, I think we as a company, you know, when COVID hit us, we all kind of worked remotely. And it's so interesting to kind of see this human aspect of adaptability, right? We adapted to it. And certainly at the beginning, it was interesting because you were not used to kind of be fully remotely, but then slowly but surely we kind of figured it out. And I think that's what's amazing about people, you know, they figure it out and they actually make it work. So now, obviously, we're also in this hybrid spot where you can come in the office, you can work from home. We are hiring across the US as well, and it's secondary where you are. What's important is for you to feel engaged and to be able to kind of be successful. And so as long as you have that, it doesn't matter where you are.
Agreed, 100%. And then Pranavi, and then we'll move on to the next question from Christa. Go ahead, Pranavi.
Yeah, so I actually just graduated from college a few months ago. And so I think myself maybe being not as close to middle school or high school, but maybe closer, I definitely have felt the challenges of having gone from an in-person school environment to complete remote work. I did a couple of completely remote summer internships before starting my full-time job now. And I just think it's really important to have the option as someone really early in their career to go into a space and interact with people and really like get an opportunity to actually learn by seeing. I think something I've really struggled with dealing with remote work is just all of the missed learning opportunities when you're to your own devices, when you're just trying to learn and figure out from the beginning. So I'm really glad that my company lets me now do a bit of a hybrid approach because yeah, it's just really important for me to see people and like actually physically interact and talk.
Yeah, for sure. You miss those hallway conversations when you're at home. You don't get those little learning opportunities. Exactly. All right, so we'll have Christa come on. I know they have to go to another class soon, so we want to give them another opportunity to ask another question. So go ahead, nice and loud. Hi, Christa McAuliffe.
Hi, I'm Julian Prakash from System College, and my question is, what is more important in CS, certifications or college diplomas?
Okay, so certifications or college diplomas, which one is more important to you, do you think, in this industry? Maybe not personally, but which one do you think is more helpful? If you would rather go certification, college, thoughts on these two things? Anyone want to start? No? Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, Mihai.
So that's a hard one, right? And I would say I think in both middle school and high school there's an opportunity to kind of do those certifications. And I know that we are working with K-12 districts to kind of help them out, figure out kind of what are some of the useful certifications that they should actually undertake in order to kind of be successful the moment they kind of move past that high school period. So I do think that those are important. I would say now it gets into that debate of, okay, after that, is it important to go in and do a CS degree or not? I think it really depends of what you want to do. Me going through a lot of school and having actually a PhD, God help me, I did a lot of school. It certainly brought advantages to doing it, and being exposed to so many things, it kind of helped my brain being kind of maybe wired a little bit differently, and also having the opportunities to do internships and co-ops and things like that, which go into kind of a higher ed school, really gives you that. But I did also have, I think, at least 3 certs before I even started my first internship, my first job. So I would say do both if you were to kind of ask me. But there's a lot of debate in terms of, do you still need a CS undergrad or not? And that we can talk for a whole hour if you like.
Yes, go ahead, Dr. DP, and then we'll go to Kelsey next.
I think the focus needs to be on you. What can you do? That is more important than what hangs on the wall. And what you can do has to be relevant in the context. When things are changing all the time, if you learn something that is already obsolete, then you need to update yourself. So degrees and certificates, do these things help? Yes, they do. But that's not the only way. There are people now, many major companies are now looking at, in an open way. They throw a problem and then they say, can you help? Can you come and help and actually impact in solving the problem? If you can, you're hired. So that's where the world is going. So focus on what you can do.
Agreed. And it still takes a lot of hard work, I think. It's not just, it's not going to get thrown in your lap. You have to prove yourself that you're one of the best if you're not getting a degree. Go ahead, Kelsey, you were next.
Yeah, actually, what I'm going to say echoes kind of both of their responses. I went a similar route. Mihai, I did the engineering. So the exposure to work opportunities and just taking classes that I never would have thought I had interest in, but being in a university environment kind of forces you to try things out and experience new things. And but what I think is more important than actually getting that degree is your passion. When you find what you're passionate about, your motivation comes through, and that's what companies recognize. So if you can find an area of computing science that you're really interested in, you'll find yourself self-motivated. You'll always want to be learning new things about it, and that's where you're going to find your success.
100%. Awesome. Mihai, go ahead, and then we'll go to the next question.
And this is, I think, what Kelsey said. It's so instrumental, because I think what I really liked about undergrad is the fact that it exposed me and others to so many different sides of the CS, like Kelsey said, until I kind of found, okay, this is actually speaks to me, and I want to do more of that. If I wouldn't have done that, I don't think I would have actually discovered my true passion. So that's the beauty of doing all of that. So certainly wanted to kind of highlight it, Kelsey's point.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, Emerald Cove, you guys are up next. Thank you for joining us again. So come on up and nice and loud so we can hear you.
Hi, my name is Anthony from Emerald Cove. My question is, who are the stakeholders involved when you start to plan your project?
Sorry, can you say it again?
Who are the stakeholders involved when you start to plan your project?
I still missed that one. Sorry. Nice.
Oh, who are the stakeholders involved when you start to plan your project?
Okay, who are the stakeholders involved when you're starting to plan your company? So let's talk about companies and building companies. What kind of stakeholders do you need when you're looking at building maybe a new computer science app or something? What needs to be involved? Alex, you want to start with this one maybe? You got a little bit of experience with the product design and stuff.
Yeah, so I'm not alone. I mean, I think starting a company is a bit different than starting a project, which was the question.
Okay.
I think, I don't know. I'll ask back. Would you rather hear about starting a company or starting a project?
If you heard project, go ahead with project. Sorry, I didn't hear it.
Well, I think I mentioned earlier, like working with the executive team or CEO, like there are different organizations which operate in a top-down manner, and that might be more the case for an early stage startup or a venture, right? Where there's somebody who's a founder, they think they know what they want to build. But as the company matures and the product matures, typically what you're trying to do is listen as much as possible to the market and to your customers. So when I think about stakeholders who need to be involved in any kind of project, we're typically trying to root that in what our customers are asking for and what our operations team is observing in the field with what's working and what's not in the product, as well as maybe something coming from business intelligence. So this is a department which is kind of responsible for reporting on the financial health or the health of the business and the activity. So there are different insights that we're basically responding to and thinking about what we need to do. That said, like there are typically designated stakeholders, and those will often be on my team. I have different product managers who are responsible for different parts of our application and representing the user's needs. So there's somebody who's responsible for the school experience. It's a web application for school transportation managers. There's another person who's responsible for the experience of recruiting drivers into our app, and somebody else who's responsible for the marketplace. So they're like a key stakeholder, just being the product manager who's ultimately responsible for that part of the application. And then they are, typically talking to customers, as stakeholders or users, and then different people on the executive team. But it really kind of depends. Like at our company, we try to we're still a startup. We're still relatively flat and collaborative in our approach. So it's this art of trying to share your ideas as much as possible and as broadly as possible with as many people as you can, and then listening to the feedback that you're getting. There's not always like a very clear decision matrix of, hey, these are the 5 stakeholders who get to vote. On the other hand, they're at larger organizations, it does start to become a little bit more like that, where there may be senior executives or mid-level executives who are kind of the official stakeholders designated on a project. But I don't want to own this. I mean, I have one perspective, but happy to pass to others.
So what I like what you said, though, about reaching out to the stakeholders, to the people who are using your products and getting their input. As someone who is a user of many products, and, I try to find great products for our schools and teachers, I like those companies that are willing to listen to us and say, this is what our teachers want. This is what our teachers are asking for. But, like that in any company, right, or organization. And Pravani, I don't know if you have any experience yet, but I know, Quizlet, our teachers and students know, but it's like we want to share what we want. And then it's, even with our smart people, we want to add this, and this, and we come to you guys with long lists of things of what our teachers want. And then, as a group, I guess you guys have to then determine which ones should be implemented, I guess, right, is the right way of saying that. Anyone else want to share, stakeholders with that one? Or we want to move on to the next question? Good. All right, so I guess we'll hop over to Suncoast again. Suncoast High School. We have our next question from you guys. Again, nice and loud for us. And make sure you unmute yourselves.
All right, so my name is Chen Shang Wei, and what aspect of coding makes it enjoyable for you?
All right, so what aspects of coding are most enjoyable to you? All right, Guillermo, go ahead.
Well, the first one and most obvious is making things work, because when you are facing a challenge and it's sometimes kind of hard to make it work, the point where you finally are seeing your code doing what it has to do, it's very, very joyful and it's great. And also, I would like to add, learning new things is also very enjoyable, especially when you have been multiple years working on IT. Seeing that a new technology is appearing and that you can not only learn it, but also apply that on your job, that's very good too.
Awesome. Always great that when you hit run, it actually works, right? So someone else want to share what's most enjoyable about, and it doesn't have to be about coding, about what your role is too. What's most enjoyable about what you do every day? Anyone else want to share?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Alex.
Sorry, so I work in product management, but my background actually is in software development. I had a minor in computer science, but for me, it was always the visual aspect. Like I realized early in my career as a developer that when it was more like kind of back-end logic, wasn't really as much fun for me as like the school projects, which I was fortunate in my school, they always tended to be pretty visual. Or building user interfaces or games and stuff like that. In my first jobs, I found myself typically gravitating to the part of the project. You might be on a team where you're suddenly the person designing the front end or the UI, and that's always what I enjoyed the most. And I guess I'll just point out that that's, you know, typically we're trying to hire developers who are quote unquote full stack, meaning that they understand both front end and back end. It's really important to have understanding on that, but I would say it's a rare developer who's equally strong in both and doesn't have a preference for one or the other. So it's something to think about. Like, do you like working on the software that people interact with, or are you more into the kind of abstraction that comes from some of the back end system design or architecture?
Awesome. Thank you. Anyone else want to share what they like best about their role? Go ahead, Dr. DB.
Kelsey raised her hand. Kelsey.
Oh, we'll go with Kelsey first, and then we'll go to Dr.
I think my favorite part about programming every day is problem solving. I love to play board games. I love to do Sudokus. I just really like puzzles. And my day-to-day job is quite often either you're hunting down a bug in the code or you're trying to build an algorithm to make something work. It's a lot like a game. And like Guillermo said, when it actually does work, you feel like you won the game.
Awesome. Love that. Love that analogy, problem solving and winning that game. Go ahead, Dr. DB.
Yes. So exactly as Kelsey said, it is about like finding a pain point that somebody's struggling with, solving the problem, doing something innovative and efficient. At the end of the day, helping somebody win, right? And in that process, you win. When you win in business, great things happen. Everybody grows. So the means to actually get that is, one of the means is coding. There's hardware, the software, the service that goes with creating the solution. And one of the important parts of the solution is the coding. So I see the coding as a means to an end of greater joy for yourself in solving the problem and your clients that you're trying to help and the community as a whole.
Awesome. All right. So we're going to hop over to Glade Central again. So Glade Central, you want to send your next student up for our next question. Whoops. And make sure you guys unmute yourselves as well. All right. Go ahead.
What did you have to learn that wasn't taught in school?
Say it again. What did you have to learn
That wasn't taught in school.
What did you have to learn that was not taught in school? Who wants to share that one? We'll start with Mihai. I see great smiles across all the faces as soon as that question came.
It's such an interesting question. So I really view school as it's gonna give you the fundamentals, right? That infrastructure, that framework that you need to kind of build upon. When you don't go in and start working in the industry, you figure out that that's great to have that fundamentals, but now you have to kind of really figure out the problem solving, and you need to kind of be, have grit and be persistent in order to kind of solve the challenges and the problems that you are having, right? So I think it's more of that mindset that you need to kind of go in and then start being really good, really deep in some of the areas that company uses, right? So again, you can't do any of that without the actual fundamentals that the school gives you, but then you need to start kind of diving there. And also another aspect that I think it's very important, maybe that some schools are doing, some schools are not, but it's really not done at the maybe there's an opportunity to do it at the right level. It's the soft skills, right? It's the communication things, the collaboration things, the critical thinking skills, the problem solving skills. I think those can help you in every single industry that you go. So I do feel that more and more focus should be based on those type of soft skills. And I hate calling them soft skills because there's nothing soft about them. Let's call them real or work skills, right? You need those skills to be side by side with the tech skills. And then when you combine those two, magic happens.
Yes, love that. And those are definitely things that we're training teachers on as well, those soft skills, we call them the 4 C's: collaboration, communication, critical thinking, all of that to get our students ready for those types of jobs. Anyone else? What didn't you learn in school? Go ahead, Dr. DP.
Yeah, so as you wade through school, right, when I was growing up, change was not as much as now, but even then, I had to develop my own, methodology to wade through school. The concept of, did you do your best? Before you get hung up on grades and become unhappy and so on, always ask yourself, did you do your best? Are you learning something? Are you having fun doing what you're doing? And then what is your grade? That was the basic, concept that one develops. But now with change exponentiating, there's something much, much more important. Yes, technical skills are all good. And as a technologist, I'll say that, yes, you have to go develop the vertical, the concept of a vertical eye, right? That's the depth of learning in any field. But what we have learned is that right now that vertical depth is alone not enough. You need to have a T-shaped profile. That means you need to have multiple skills. One skill here, another skill here. You put them together. For example, it could be technology and it could be business, right? Learning that. But that was 10 years ago. Now you need to have an X-shaped profile, which means any skill that in computer science, X is a variable, right? So any skill you need to be able to learn 10x faster. That's where it's going. But that's not enough. The most important skill of today is knowing what is your calling. What are you here for? What are your values? What are you doing? What are you good at? As Kelsey said, what is your true passion, right? That is the true north. So understanding yourself is the most important thing, and that may be more important than your IQ, which is intelligence quotient, emotional intelligence, EI. More important than those is what we believe, right? Among the leaders in innovation that I know, we believe knowing your story intelligence is the most important thing, because as things change around you, if you understand yourself and know this is what makes you happy, this is why you should do what you're doing, you're going to be happy no matter what changes. So understanding, knowing your calling is the most important. I didn't learn that in school.
I love that. Never heard of the story IQ before. That's an interesting idea. But I think you make a great point that, what I hope students are seeing from this is that coding touches so many things in this world today. So yes, you may love coding, but then, we have education in the room right now. We have medical in the room. We have ride sharing and app building in the room. So you could love medical, but you don't want to be a doctor. So you could be coding in that field there. So that's what I think is important to take away from here is you take the passion, like Dr. DP says, and then apply that with your coding to a field that you really are also passionate about. Go ahead, Mihai, you want to add to that?
Because that's such a great point. And without finding that passion, especially at the beginning, but throughout your entire career, you won't be able to have that grit to really stay with the problems, to really kind of hit your head against that wall if you're really not enjoying what you're doing, right? So you have to be able to wake up most mornings, not all mornings, well, you feel kind of happy about going to work, right? Because those challenges that you're going to hit at work, they're going to rely on your passion in order to kind of get you through and stick with them and solve them, right? So it's crucial to find that passion for sure.
Yes.
Agreed. Having that grit to get through those hard times, to make you actually want to roll out of bed in the morning. If you don't really love it, you can tell. So go ahead, Pranavi, you want to say something? Add that?
Yeah, I almost want to play devil's advocate a little bit because I know that there's sort of like this really big emphasis around finding your passion. And I think as a young person, that can be a really intimidating thing when you don't necessarily know like what you're really interested in and like what you maybe want to pursue. So I think I want to also encourage students to maybe reframe that a little bit. It's not necessarily about finding a passion, but it's kind of, again, like DP was mentioning, like having a decent enough understanding of yourself to figure out, okay, what do I like? Like, what are the things that I find myself gravitated towards? And then developing that interest. I think what we're talking about here is over time, you learn something and you grow a competency in it, and that can end up being a passion. But I think very rarely do we just like stumble upon this thing that we are super good at and love that makes us a lot of money. Like, I just think that's, I don't know, from my perspective, and I know from a lot of my peers who are, just entering into the industry, that it feels sort of not entirely realistic because so many of us don't yet know like what we really like doing, even after getting your first job out of college or, starting your career. So yeah, I just want to encourage anyone, if sort of the rhetoric of finding your passion and like figuring out what your calling is it comes across as a little bit intimidating, like don't worry at all, because, you develop these things, you learn over time what you like, what you're good at, and that could turn into something that you feel particularly passionate about. So yeah, I just wanted to add my 2 cents there.
No, I love that because, and we'll get to Min and then we'll go to Kelsey. I love that just because, it is difficult to know what you like. I was fortunate to know I've always wanted to be a teacher since I was in 3rd grade, but I also know friends that struggled through college, changed their major multiple times. But I think above all of that is just getting some experience. So if you think you like something, try an internship, talk to people in that field. There is students have such an opportunity now. I bet, how many of you guys right now are on social media in the room here? Who's on social media, right? Most of you are on social. It's okay if you're not. I'm just saying, but there's an opportunity that the kids can reach out to almost anyone in the world through social media and learn more about things. Like I'm a big Apple fan. I see Apple people, engineers that are working at Apple, I can tweet to and try to start communicating to see, is that maybe a field that I'm interested in? So social media can be a great place where you can learn more about things that you're wanting by talking to people who are in that job right now. So don't forget that tool is out there. So go ahead, Min, do you want to keep adding to this? I think this is a great topic.
Yeah. I just want to top up on, I really agree with Pranavi, what she said, because I just give you a personal example, like a career and even your education is not often a straight line. Like myself, I actually in university did a double degree in fine arts and computer science, like a very awkward combo, I would say. At the time, at least that's what I thought. But later on, I discovered that, computer science originally I thought was very narrow field, turned out to actually be very broad. Like there are many different things you can do in computer science. You can do, like back-end, front-end development. You can make games. I discovered computer graphics, which had, some relationship with art, and actually did a master's in developing this 3D sketching interface. So I just wanted to encourage you guys, like if you're broaden your kind of view of what computer science is about, because there's actually a lot of things you can do within it. And depending on what you like, you'll be able to find what you're passionate about, and that comes with time too. Like I didn't discover that till like my 3rd year of university. So stay patient, and you'll find kind of what you're looking for.
For sure. As a teenager, I mean, I think back to a teenager, I didn't know what I was really passionate about. There were a couple of topics, but, a lot of that could change and evolve over time. So yeah, for sure. Go ahead, Kelsey, you want to add to that?
Yeah, I was going to echo basically the same thing with my personal story. I certainly did not know my passion coming out of high school. Finding my passion was a stumbling process that lasted many, many years. I went into university in mechanical engineering, and after 2 years, I realized I really like innovation, but I wasn't excited about mechanics. So I left and did a degree in education in math and physics, secondary education. So I was going to be a teacher. I was in the classroom. I graduated. I enjoyed aspects of education, but I found I liked curriculum design. I liked building lessons. I enjoyed more how and why people learn and the psychology of education, but I wasn't enjoying my day-to-day there either. So I went back to school to finish the engineering degree in computing science. I had written my first Hello World in that time frame in education, and kind of stumbled my way through and found this passion for ed technology and building the tools to help people learn.
Awesome. Yeah, it's definitely a journey. Guillermo, and then I'll go to my last question. Go ahead, Guillermo.
I think Mihai was first. I don't know. What?
That's okay. We'll go with you. Go ahead.
Okay, perfect. Okay, I just wanted to back my teammates because for me it was the same. I didn't know my passion until I was like 21 or 22 years old. By that time, I was already in college. And what made me realize what I really want to do was experience. I like video games a lot and playing with them and that. And I thought maybe it might be fun to try to make something on my own. And if I can encourage you to do something, is if you think you can like it, if you think that might be your passion or maybe not, just go ahead and try it. Because in coding, learning coding is complicated. It has a lot of things, but starting to learn and starting to build really simple apps or web applications, it's really easy and simple. So if I can encourage you to do something, is just go ahead and try it. You might find your passion.
Yep, for sure, 100%. I'm going to do one last question here before we finish up, and I just want to think about looking into the future. One of the questions that came from Numi is directed directly at Dr. DP, but I think it could be open to everyone, even if it's not your passion. We all have to think about what's coming down the line in this field. So the question, Dr. DP, will let you start, but how do you think the fields of AR, augmented reality, VR, virtual reality, and AI will affect the way we learn computer science and learn everything? And also, how will we use it in our everyday lives? And before we do that, can you, Dr. DP, tell us the difference between AR and VR for those students who are not sure what the difference between the two are?
Great. Great question. So it's a question of our times right now. Virtual reality has been around for decades, and the concept is you wear a headset and you're able to immerse in a completely synthetic environment. And so wherever you're sitting, you can be transported and you learn something. I think a vast number of you, I hope by now, would have actually experienced the revolution that's going on. Now the technology is getting to a point where it's very usable, and it is a game changer. Once you see it, you realize so much is now possible. It now relieves you from the tyranny of geography. You don't have to be sitting in one place and be tied to that. The world is open to you. That's VR. If you look at augmented reality, the ability to look at real life around you and have additional augmentation, meaning if you look at the road, right, and you have a map superposed on top of the road, there is some additional. That's what Google is doing today and so on. You all know about what Pokemon Go is about, right? The idea of being able to use the surroundings and have a game on top of it. So, but what started out as exploration into the gaming now has opened the door, right? And so gaming is now a core skill. Now the question becomes, okay, we can actually do, with virtual reality, you can do training. What kind of training? Well, we can actually do safety training and so on much better than ever before. Great. That's what we call a killer app. So VR is actually making a big difference. VR is being used for language training, right? Because you can do the concept of muscle memory can be triggered. AR happens to be a much bigger cousin of VR, right? If you want to know more about this, read the paper by Professor Michael Porter at Harvard in a Harvard Business Review. Write to me in LinkedIn if you want. I'll give you a copy. But the thought is that AR is going to have huge applications, right, compared to VR. So AR and VR together become a tremendous pair. They're cousins. Think about it that way. But even bigger than AR and VR is what's going to happen when you bring AI into the equation. When AI combines with these technologies, then even bigger things happen. That's the concept of, people said, okay, is it AR, is it VR? The concept of mixed reality, the concept of assisted reality. Well, the industry said, let's just call it XR, extended reality, right? Extend the reality. AI and XR coming together. So then the question is, so what's going to happen next? Remember, the evolution, your computing platform in those days used to be the big mainframes, right? That's what my former company did 20 years at IBM, and we used to sell. But that became the PC, the personalized, became smaller. It became even smaller with your tablet, right? And then the smartphone comes along, and then now in that trajectory are these headsets. So the headsets, the AR and VR, that medium is going to become the new computing platform. So all of you, that's why I said, be willing to change. Absolutely, as Pranavi said, like find your way by trying different things, getting experiences, like John said, and prepare for the metaverse. Everything we do, including like how we play, and playing is an important part of innovation. And so how we play, how we interact with each other, how we live, how we work, all of that stuff, the metaverse is going to be the next big thing. So it's called the rise of the 3D web. Prepare for the digital twin of the entire planet. You're going to have a choice whether you want to work or play. You're going to have a choice whether to go physically to a location, or you can have the physical and digital coming together. That's essentially Industry 4.0 as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Anyone else want to share their ideas? And again, we don't know what's going to happen. We have ideas, but what do you think could be this technology could be used for? Anyone else want to share before we end here? Good, Mihai.
Just I think what I'm seeing, I have a 7-year-old and a 10-year-old, and they really love the whole VR experience, and they also love playing on their iPads, especially Roblox. And what's interesting though is if you take those concepts, right, and you try to apply them in the learning setting, because now you get something that the kids are very, very into, and they would love to spend as much time with a VR set or inside Roblox, get that into the learning environment. And I think at that point you have a win-win, right? Not only use the tools that the students really love to kind of use, but then you also use them from a learning standpoint for them to kind of learn computer science and many, many other things that you can use it for. And I know it sounds easier said than done, but I think there's opportunities there from a learning standpoint to kind of take what the students are engaged with and apply it in different ways, not just gaming.
Agreed, 100%. Okay, so with that, I'm going to bring all of you guys back in a second. Thank you for joining us today. I just have a quick word or two for our teachers, and then I'll let each one of you kind of have your last word. So kind of think about what you want to say to inspire our next generation of students. So I'll bring you guys back in 1 second. Just give me a second to click through all these guys. And I'm also going to bring my slide deck back up. So for teachers, we're going to be here all week for elementary and middle school. We're going to be doing live streams with our smart monsters. There's also an elementary stream going on right now. But all of this information is found on our website, edtechtraining.palmbeachschools.org. And we have actually moved up the hour of code information right here. And as always, please keep in mind when you're on our website, the latest updates will always be right here at the top. So you kind of have an idea of what's going on. And right below that is our calendar, which is where all of our trainings are going to be. When you click onto the Hour of Code, it will take you to our Hour of Code website, which will give you some activities. There are teacher resources, parent resources for this week. And there are also unplugged activities, teachers. So what these are activities that you can print out, and you don't even need technology to complete. So things that can be done at home. All of that is on our Hour of Code website, directly off of our main website. I want to also highlight for secondary, we have another panel coming up on Thursday. And it's actually going to be students who have graduated from Palm Beach County and who are either pursuing a degree in computer science or are in the computer science field. So it's going to be a little early. It's going to be at 8:45. But we would love to have you guys join us for that or watch the replay just to kind of see where people who are from this area, our own students, are going with that. And so with that, on behalf of the EdTech team as a whole, I want to thank you for being here, and I'm going to bring up each person and let them kind of give their last word. So Kelsey, we'll start with you. Go ahead.
Well, thanks so much for having me, guys. This was really awesome. If I can leave you with one thought to take away, it really is just following that passion. Don't be afraid to try new things. Your favorite place, your favorite experience at one time was unknown to you. So just go with what you enjoy, and you'll find your way.
Awesome. Thank you. Guillermo, go ahead. You're muted, Guillermo. Go ahead.
Thank you very much for allowing me to have joined you today. It has been great seeing so much young people being interested in IT. And if I wanted to leave you with something, is what I said earlier and what my teammate Kelsey said, is that try new things, try to keep at it, and at some point, I'm sure you will find your passion. And more importantly, something that you have fun for, and that's very important for a job, I think.
Agreed. Thank you so much. All right, Min, go ahead.
Thanks for having me again. Yeah, it's, like my teammate said, it's really exciting to see everybody really interested in technology and in computer science. Like I said before, I think this is a really exciting field. There's a lot for everybody, regardless of where your interests are in this field. A lot of great opportunities there. And similar to what Kelsey and Guillermo said, to top up on that, right? Try new things. Actually, don't be afraid to fail, because you are going to do that in sort of learning what your passions are going to be. So go out there and follow your passions and fail, but learn and get better.
Love it. I'm a big fan of failing forward, so I love that. Go ahead, Alex.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. It's been a pleasure. Hope you guys have enjoyed it as well. I mean, I would say that personally, to me, it seems like we're already living in an augmented reality world where we have smartphones and easy access to internet. I just think technology is going to continue to become more and more dominant in our world. So you're in a good spot to be learning, and it's a great time to learn because so many of the tools and software and systems and frameworks we use to build software now are all open source and free. There's great online materials. There's a lot of community through Meetup and other channels for coding meetups and hackathons and such like. So just get out there and try it out. Last thing I'll say though is a lot of the real world still counts, and a lot of what software is trying to do is really improve people's lives. And don't forget that. Stay grounded in human psychology and what makes people tick. If anyone wants to hit me up on LinkedIn, also I'm happy to answer any questions. I'm Alex Parsons at HopSkipDrive.
Awesome, thank you. And Dr. DP.
Yes, I would say like 10x learning is where it's going. Imagine all of you going through a particular year if you could learn 10 times more. That's what's coming. That's what these technologies such as AI, machine learning, AR and VR are promising. And so prepare to learn as fast as you can, but also as long as you live. Lifelong learning is where we are at. Once you graduate 12th grade or bachelor's or master's, PhD, I've done all of that. Right? So what we've learned is that that's just the beginning. Until your lifetime, full lifetime, that's the 100-year curriculum that's upon us. So what I would say, as you traverse the journey, as everybody said, get experiences, try, stumble, find your way, and find your what you like. But be uniquely the human that you are. Do not be afraid. Do not imitate. Right? A rose doesn't try to be like a lily. So you be who you are, and blossom. Thanks.
Love that. Yes. Use your own unique talents to move forward. All right, good. Pranavi?
Yeah, well, thank you guys so much for having me. This was lovely. The thing I would want to leave you with is surround yourself with people who challenge you and whose interests also interest you. I think nothing you do in your journey to discovering your interests and figuring out what you like has to be done alone. So, make friends with people that challenge you and spark your interests in different ways, and that you also have fun with. None of this is worth it if it's not to be with people you love and enjoy. So that's what I have to say.
Agreed. It's important who you surround yourself with. And Mihai, go ahead and take us out.
Thanks for having me first and foremost. I would say, and really well said by everyone else, so it's hard to kind of add anything else, but just know that every single industry out there, being it healthcare, being it energy, being it banking, is using really technology to solve real meaningful problems. So you're in a great field. And just know that not everything is about hands on a keyboard kind of writing code. There's so many other roles and opportunities when you worked in such industries in like a software, world, to kind of do many other roles that bring, value. So you don't necessarily need to be hands on a keyboard to kind of code. Find your interest, stay with that, and then with that interest, that passion will also follow up.
100%. Thank you all again for joining us. It was awesome seeing such a great, diverse group of people. And for those of you watching, we appreciate it. And have a great day, everyone. And bye-bye.
Bye.